We had a hurricane. Hurricane Sandy came through. But I wouldn't say that's most extreme weather. It was supposed to be really serious, and every time, probably outside of Utah, but every time in New York, if there's a big weather warning coming, the stores would be empty. People would buy all the food and all the water. And I remember the hurricane was pretty crazy for that. Everyone bought up on water. But really, snow, I thought, was the biggest experience. It got down to -32 one time. And it was just cold like I've never experienced or imagined you can feel. And I know it gets colder other places, but it was cold. It was crazy. So we were driving, we saw something in the road, and we stopped. It was a snapping turtle, and it was about yay big. It was a pretty good sized turtle, and just slowly walked across. It had a tail that looked like Bowser. It's really cool. And a lot of dead possums and wild hedgehogs. And then there's the average things that are here in Utah, deer, things like that. But yeah, it was cool. I had Puerto Rican food. This actually had a restaurant, so I don't feel like I have to, make any members feel weird about their cooking. Yeah, but it was just, they had things like oxtail and tongue and stuff, which is, there's crazier foods, but to me that was pretty exotic, and I didn't really want anything exotic. I just wanted some good Spanish food, and I was thinking Mexican. I was like, this looks like a great Mexican restaurant. Well, it's Spanish food, and that's not the same as Mexican. And so I just got beef and pork, and I remember eating the pork, and there was just they just left the skin on it. You'd have chunks of pork, but there'd be skin and fat and cartilage and stuff. And so even getting the most, what I thought was the most normal food was it's still very different from if we were to have pork here at a Mexican restaurant where it's just meat. It's there's skin, and there's hairs coming out of the skin. And I was like, man, this is not Mexican food that I want. But it's still good, It tasted good. It was just different. So I don't want to say they're famous for their pizza, because amongst New York, their pizza's not really that good, I guess. But I thought their pizza was awesome. They had awesome pizza. There's a place in Palmyra called Nima's, and their calzones are just giant calzones that are awesome. I mean, they cook them for you fresh. So you crack open this, looks like a pie almost, or like a huge empanada. You crack it open, it's full of cheese and pepperoni, and it's just so good. And then the staple, though, is called a garbage plate. That's only Rochester has garbage plates. You go to Buffalo, no garbage plates. You go to Syracuse, no garbage plates. So it's really just in this one city where they have the garbage plate, but it's basically potatoes, mac salad, beans, and then they put 2 cheeseburger patties on top of that, and they drip this meat sauce over it. The meat sauce is a Rochester thing too. I mean, I just never saw it in Utah. It's like ground beef that is really, really fine, so that it turns into a sauce, and it's hot, it's spicy, and it was good. It was all good. My favorite, though, is probably the calzone at Nemo's. As far as baptisms go, stateside missions are, for lack of a better term, hard, I guess. Most people don't baptize 30 people in a stateside mission. New York, I think the average was 1.7 for a missionary. And I had this awesome experience where I prayed to God, and I told him I was ready to be serious as a missionary about the work, and that I really wanted to find somebody that was ready. And the next day I found this girl. She was a referral, and we called her, and she was solid. She was really cool experience how she found the church, really cool experience with her conversion to the church, and she got baptized. And it was just one of those answers to your prayers where you're like, whoa, that was such a clear answer to my prayer. I asked for it, and it just happened. And then I left the area, and she also moved to a different area of New York in a different ward. And the transition just didn't go very well. Her family, I think, wasn't very supportive. And she left the church, like right after she joined, she left. And, what I learned is that's really hard. Like it's really hard to see someone that knows it's true. They have a testimony from what they've told you and what you've felt as they've shared things with you. And to see them turn that away, because of fear or, I'm not entirely sure what it was. Could have been her family. It could have been issues, things that were a commandment that was too hard. It could have been the lack of support. I don't know. But what I learned is that retention is just as important. Once you've been baptized or once someone else has been baptized, that's not over. And it's a continual process, You should never stop worrying about someone. You should never stop helping someone, even if they are active. We have to help each other out, not just the non-members, and I don't know. I feel like I learned that because she was solid, and I think I kind of just thought my work was done. I went to a new area. If I could go back, I would have done more. I still think she probably would have left, but that was hard, and I learned from it, I think. I packed a lot of like thermal underwear, and if I could go back, I would only pack one pair of those. You hardly ever will wear them, even if it's freezing. The thing is, like, it's warm, but as soon as you go inside to someone's house, they're too hot. So with that, just don't worry too much about like thermals. Get a nice coat. I always was kind of like going cheap on the coats, and shouldn't have, I guess. It's worth the money to spend money on a coat. It's worth the money to spend money on shoes. Find good quality shoes, or you can even go to a thrift store and find good quality old shoes that'll last you. But you just don't want to be buying shoes every couple months, and you will wear them out like that. I don't feel like I walked that much on my mission, and I still was wearing shoes out a lot. If they're not a nice pair of shoes, they don't hold up from walking. But I would say that's the big thing is warmth. Get a nice coat. If you can get the ones that have like a outer raincoat shell and they like attach together, that's a good one. Because some days it's really cold, some days it's kind of cold, and that way you can kind of layer. And yeah, the rest of it, is just like style things. If you like short sleeve shirts, I always like the short sleeve shirts in the summer. If you like comfortable pants, but really I think the most important thing is just spend money on a good coat and good shoes.